we're back again with movie time. Hey, everybody, I bet you thought that you were never going to hear that again. But, yep, we are back. It's like we are here for a very special time. And I am here with three amazing people and some excellent topics for all of you who have missed us since the last time. I have, of course, here Olaf. Hey, Olaf, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I'm just sitting here chilling in this nice 17-degree weather. So, just, hanging in there, trying to stay warm.
Cool. And we have Kinte also. It's like the man who has gone through the 24-hour clock.
Yes. Oh my God. I can't believe I'm awake. But we are hour 21. So if I start slurring my words and sounding stupid, you know what?
I'll go get you that beer that you asked for.
Man, you know what? Neosha was saying maybe I need to get some Coke, and I was like, maybe I need some Coke, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. There you go.
Coke classic, for real.
Yeah. And we also have our special one with us today. Hey, Jen, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, and it's been a while, and for all of you who don't know why, it's been a while because it's like, the world of film and all the fun things that happen in between. And the only thing that's also changed is now these are permanent. This is the new model. This is the new look for movie time. It's like, yeah, we went from this to this in a dramatic change.
In our chat room is Ryan. We're gonna make Ryan jealous because Grayson is from Canada. Oh wait, he dropped out, so I have to wait till he comes back to say it. My bad.
That's okay. He'll be back.
He's like, I don't want to hear it. I'll wait till he comes back. I'm gonna make him hear what I have to say.
You run him off.
Mm-hmm. He's like, I don't want to hear. I don't want to be jealous.
Yep. And so for tonight we have three amazing subjects for y'all, and we're going to save our last one, which is our year in review, to our very, very end. And in the meantime, we're going to start off with our very first one, which is dealing with exactly what the topic that you saw at the top. A good title for your film. And we're not talking about the title that's actually out in the theater. We're talking the one that when you're going from script stage to ready to get into the screen stage. A lot of people don't realize how important a title is. You do some of the things that a title can do for you, the proper one, and especially a very important thing. It can turn your investor off. Merely the title. They won't even bother to look at the proposal. They won't bother to look at the script. If you're looking to attract a producer, if the wrong title is on there. So let's talk about titles. It's like, when you think about them, what are some of the things that would turn you guys off in terms of a title for a film project?
The thing that would turn me off might be something that might turn the financier on. Like those titles like, Richard Nixon, Vampire Hunter, or, something like that. That would be like, oh, God, I facepalm, kind of thing. But I think a financier might like it. So I don't know, those really corny type, mashup, it's going to be history and zombies or something like that.
Like Pride and Prejudice and zombies. Or
Right.
And also, so Jen and Olaf, what do you think there are some of the other things that might turn an investor off? Or a producer off when they're looking at it, if you're only at the script stage?
Anything that's a bad pun. Not a play on words, because that might work, but a bad pun.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you don't... just looking at the title, first of all, you don't know what that translates to. Secondly, bad puns are just universally usually panned, so I can see why that would not be a super good choice. Also, the other thing that I think would not work in a title are things that are so nondescript that they become, instead of being intriguing, they're just sort of meh.
Right.
Those kinds of things.
Yeah, if you don't have something in the title that's a little bit kind of like makes them go Yeah,
Makes them go.
makes them go, and so you got to watch what you're doing with the titles, because if, like, say, as Jen said, you do like a pun, you don't know who you're going to offend, because it might be funny to you, but the investor, maybe the pun that you put out there, that's the investor has personal experience with that, and is like, oh no, you didn't. So
Yep.
so you got
Which
to have
brings
a
it to
little bit of a bite to it, somehow,
mm-hmm.
to kind of, that you need to have something that kind of gives a little clue to what the movie is.
And it's also very important, also, when you're thinking of the title of your film, there's also several things that you have to also consider when you're looking at a title. Not only who is your target audience, which is also a big, huge one. What's the story's perspective? Who are you looking to attract in terms of perspective? Because it was very interesting. There was an episode. There was something that was brought up another day, dealing with the title of a script that was being worked on, which has two titles in terms of a working title. And it was brought forward that one is a very male slanted title, one is a very female slanted title.
Oh, that's a good point.
So let's talk about that a little bit when you're thinking of it. Titles also have other things like age groups. So what would you think in terms of like the teen years? If you were looking to attract, the ones who are in the Twilight crowd, for example. And no comments on the whole Twilight thing of like it, hate it. The point is that yes, that was the title of a book and that was translated out into a movie.
Young adult literature.
Exactly. But if you were looking to do a specific genre, specific title, what kinds of things would you think that would appeal to a millennial, a younger person?
It's like the new iPhone is out.
Yep. But what kinds of titles?
Well, that's actually a really good point, Olaf, because the movie that was called Unfriended, although it was rather abysmal in terms of content. Oh god. Oh gosh. But it had an appeal. It had an instant draw appeal. And that I feel like is really millennial.
Right.
Everybody who's a millennial knows what Unfriended is. But if you try to drag your 60-year-old grandmother, she might not know.
It's like, what's Unfriended? And posting, the 90-year-old grandma is posting pictures on her, on her wall, and like literally on her wall. So not on her Facebook wall.
But I don't
something along the lines of, the iPhone, it's like my iPhone died or something like that. Something that would be in that genre of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all that other stuff. That's going to hit the millennials.
I wonder if it's just pop culture or if also there's something else to it. Because it is easy to make a pop culture reference, but I think it's much harder if you're thinking about really good intellectual property titles to come up with something that doesn't sound too much like other stuff that's been published, but is still going to be attractive to a young adult audience.
And you have to make sure of also, even though titles can't be copywritten in terms of that, it's like there is open to that in terms of that. You have to make sure also that there isn't movies in that same genre with that title.
Yeah, that could get confusing.
Another thing that also happens with age groups, it's age groups of, as well, people in certain demographics as well. That in demographics, are you going for an urban crowd? Are you going for a suburban crowd? It's like, again, this is also some categorizing in that. It's like also with your genre as well as also your age, you also have to say whose point of view is on the story that you're actually doing.
So an example of sort of demographic choosing would be like if you had a horror movie that was urban centered, and let's say it was Slaughter on Fifth Avenue, everybody would know that pretty much that took place in New York City. But it would be even more telling if you said Rodeo Drive, Slaughter, or something like that, right? Because that clues you in on exact demographic. Yeah, that also is super interesting. You're right.
So if you also think about it as well, in terms of that, it's like when you're looking at it for also audiences that are the box office that are going to fill up your seats, as well as also even if it's television as well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when you're looking through Netflix, for example, or different streaming ones, Hulu, Amazon, I'll plug them all if you want in regards to it. Shameless plugging. So Kinte, what would you say that is the thing that attracts you of the title that becomes the end title of the film?
Like on Netflix or something? That's really a great question, because obviously if it's a movie that we're very aware of that's been out in the theater, you'll be attracted to the buzz around it. But they have a lot of films that you may have never heard of until you saw them in the Netflix queue. And so if it's titles like something that's dark or something that's I don't know. I think a lot of it goes with the thumbnail as well. So how many of us been deceived by the title and the thumbnail? You're like, oh, that looks interesting. That sounds interesting. It'll be like the world that it's in or something, but then it's something about knitting or something, and you're like, this movie sucks.
Yeah.
There's been times that you look at the thumbnail, the title, and says, that's interesting. So you watch the trailer. That should be interesting. The only thing interesting about the movie was the trailer.
But it goes the other way too, because I almost didn't watch Bird Box based on the title. I thought the title was just ridiculous, and I honestly didn't. I sort of prejudged the movie based on how ridiculous I thought the title was.
That happened with me with Good Will Hunting.
Oh, that's a good
I almost thought that I wasn't going to go see it. I was like, I had no idea what this movie was going to be about. I was like, okay. It's the great, okay, what is this movie exactly? What am I looking at in regards to it? And then I actually went in and I was like, okay, this title, Good Will Hunting, okay, so it might intrigue me a little bit. And the poster certainly did nothing for me to understand what it was. And then next thing you know, I walked into the theater and I was like, I loved it.
Now here's I pulled up Netflix, and here's I could read some titles and you can tell me what this makes you feel. How's that sound?
Yep.
Okay, so these are movies directed by women. Here's a movie called Close. Does that do anything for you?
Not me.
No.
There's a movie called Lionheart.
That would.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? There was an old Van Damme movie. Hey, Tachi! Dr. Tachi.
Yep.
No, see, if you say Lionheart to me, I'd think, is that about Richard?
Oh, she says Lionheart is very good. So,
it was.
It's a Nigerian film. Okay. There's Happily Ever After, and this looks like I think it's the Sanaa Lathan movie. What do you think about that?
Sounds like I would see that.
Yeah, that would interest me.
And then there's The Kindergarten Teacher.
Yeah, it's like I would have to have a heck of a lot more information about that, even just judging by the poster.
Yeah, if it was librarian instead of kindergarten teacher, then there might be a different story. But they don't know.
But see, if you just added two things to that, if you said like My Life with the Kindergarten Teacher or Kindergarten Teacher and then insert some kind of clause after it, that might be compelling. But
yes.
we definitely have moved into sort of a movie age where I should say a title age, where we are really we're trying to be super concise about titles. That's what it feels like. Sometimes I don't know if that's actually really all that great. Being ambiguous seems like it's kind of a shoot in the dark.
Well, the thing is to give it that one word title, like Next or like
Bird Box.
Well, that's true. Bird Box.
Unfriended. There you go. Yeah. You're right.
And Now, how many words is 2 words? How many words is too many words as far as you're concerned, all of you, that would make you go, too long a title, can't even remember it, don't even know if I want to see it?
I hate it when movies are the name of the biography and then the real story of, and then they have some description underneath. I'll never remember all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like the true story of Jack so and so who went up the hill and came down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. Yeah, that is actually a turn off to me. You know, don't be a minute. Well, that's funny though. Don't be a minute in South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. That's one of the greatest titles of all time.
Yep.
That's a funny one. Yeah, I'm I'm not very good at titling stuff. Maybe that's a good thing I don't have any children because I probably would suck at titling them. But we would hopefully the mother would be better than I would be.
You title the kids 1, 2, 3.
That's a good idea, actually.
Or A, B, C, D.
or the name of the place they were conceived at.
It's like 1B, 2G,
Motel
3G.
No, but I'm but I wanted to do a show one time on the importance of a name because I think names do give power, whether it's your business or or
Yes.
your film or whatever. So it is very important because people really do react to it. There's titles of movies that are good movies, but the title just didn't resonate with people.
Yep. And then there are titles that it's like are very deceptive to what the movie is about. You should be able to, when you're looking at the poster and at the title of the movie, kind of get at least a feeling of what's going on with your project. But even at the development stage, a lot of people don't realize. You know what? It's like the title that I put on there is the title is going to be read by the distributors, by the actors, to decide whether they want to be in it. And how many times have we heard interviews of actors that said, I got this movie with this stupid title, and I was like, wow, I just didn't want to even look at this thing.
go ahead.
Yeah. How many of those did we get?
I remember Samuel Jackson said he claimed the reason why he did Snakes on the Plane because he said he always wanted to do a movie titled Snakes on a Plane. Which, let me translate, they offered him a nice sum of money and he took it.
Yes.
Wow.
And for that, he would have slept with the snakes on the plane.
Right. I would have ran from that movie, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I mean, there are certain movies that it's like the title is self-obvious. Like the ones that are the DC and Marvel World ones. If you're going to do the movies about them, you obviously have to call them the name of that particular hero or villain, etc., etc. That's pretty much cast in stone, that name. But then there is also the next part of that. Yep, Captain Marvel, for example, it's like Godzilla, things like that. But then there's also, for example, titles that tell you what kind of genre it also is, which is very key to the investor as well as to the actual end audience as well, of having a title that, she's all that, for example.
Yeah, she's all that, yeah.
What is that? What is that title telling you?
Oh, it tells you that it's some quote. I'm doing air quotes. Some kind of hip, young thing. Yeah, she's all that, or how to lose a guy in what is it?
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days? Yes.
Yeah. That's, those kind of titles. What women want.
And it's true.
See, if something sounds like it's a horror movie to me, I'll go watch it. If it sounds like it's a
Really?
rom-com, I'll probably stay away from it with a 20-foot pole. And so, I sometimes end up missing out on movies that could be good just because they are titled so bad. Or until I find out something about them, till somebody else.
What do you think about sequels? Do you like the idea of, like, James Bond, for example? Each movie is a different title. It's not like part 1 or part 2 or whatever,
which is fantastic.
But see, a lot of movies will say such and such 2, like John Wick Chapter 2 or whatever. But then you had a movie like Kiss the Girls, and then the sequel was called Along Came the Spider, and they said that one of their issues were people didn't know it was a sequel because of the fact that the titles were so different, and it was a very different tone movie too. So they said that was like a big issue, was people didn't know really that it was the sequel to Kiss the Girls.
And when you do have movies in that sort of genre, again, where it's like you're having a sequel to your to the original movie, you have to be very careful when also reusing a title as well. It's like, that whole part 2, like Super Troopers part 2, or, again, when they did this new Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movie, it's like they had to have, as part of the Dragon Tattoo series. It's like, if you actually go to the movie, you would have equated it, especially since the only thing that's changed is Claire Foy is now playing it instead of Mara Rooney.
Dre has a good one, Fugitive and U.S. Marshals. Yeah, that was a big one.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times having also a new title gives also the company a lot of leeway then to be able to explore around a little bit with the movie so that you don't make the sequel to it quite as, genetically cut, paper cut, like as genetically cookie cuttered as the original one. Like a lot of people asked at one point in time with regards to the movie that we're currently dealing with, would I be having a sequel? The answer to that is yes, you would be having a sequel if it's demanded, first of all. And second, it's like then you have to come up with clever plotting to be able to make a sequel viable. But you don't name it, this plus the sequel.
There's another thing too. Like, I don't know if you know about this practice in Hollywood, and maybe Tachi in the chat room will know what I'm talking about. They'll do this where, okay, the first movie was a big hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they'll take a movie that wasn't even connected with the other movie. It's already finished. They did this with Open Water 2. It was a movie that had nothing to do with it in the production or anything, and they needed to sell it. So they titled it as a sequel to Open Water and called it Open Water 2. So there's a lot of movies like that where it's billed as a sequel, and you're wondering, like, this don't feel like a sequel. It's because they just slapped it on there and called it something else. I hate that practice. Cloverfield has done the same thing as well.
Oh yeah.
So the original movie was great, and then when they had that redo of it, it's like it's not that it was bad, but it's just a matter of that it's also something that gives people a different tone. So even in going through it, it's like you have to understand in terms of your titles. It's like think about it of who's the end product of it, who's your target market, what's your age that you're targeting for the movie, and who's actually the investor that you're also targeting when you're looking at it for your title. Because there are certain, and also, again, the title will also tell you who do you go to for distribution. For example, you would not go to Disney with, Harry Chops Up the World. Unless Harry Chops Up the World means that he's got a bunch of toys. In a toy
or he works in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I don't know. Disney, they got some twisted stuff over there at Disney.
A lot of it has been franchise purchased.
Yeah, the mouse ain't the mouse that I grew up on, or maybe it is, and we just paying attention more.
No, Mouse House has changed. It still is Disney Hausen, only you just get an extra bonus of extra ears. And bought up ears.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lucas.
Yeah.
And you get some really cool stuff. It's like they got the Marvel Universe, all of that. So it's like, yeah, there's something to think about as well. Another thing that we're also looking at as well for people in regards to titles, you also want to make sure that the title that you're using is not one associated with a bad brand, so to speak.
That's a good one. Yeah. Okay, this is not a bad brand, but there was a movie that came out called Manhunter.
Mm-hmm.
And Manhunter is actually the first of the what do you call it? The Thomas Harris novels with the
Hannibal Lecter series.
Thank you, Hannibal Lecter.
Yes.
And what happened was that movie's a great movie, but it was a big time flop. So when they did the sequel to it, they were very concerned about the idea of it. When they did Silence of the Lambs, there was this big fear that there would be a connection there. But because they changed the name from the book, because the book is called Red Dragon, they were able to not, the stink from the lack of success of Manhunter was not ported over to Silence of the Lambs. Even though Manhunter is an amazing movie, it was way better than the Red Dragon movie that came out later.
Very true.
Yeah. And the reason why they changed it from Red Dragon, real quick, the reason why they changed it from Red Dragon to Manhunter was because at the time there was a lot of martial arts movies, and they didn't want people to assume that Red Dragon was like a Bruce Lee knockoff movie or something.
And in terms of also television, when you're looking at it for titles, if you think about this, and also in the television world, we have a lot of things that have happened in the television world with titles because the wrong title can really set the bad mood and tone for the actual production itself and whether the audience will click to the show or not. They had a lot of questions in terms of what they were going to name the show, for example, after Roseanne left.
Connors.
Yeah. It's like, what were they going to name it? They came up finally with Connors at the time, which made the most sense. However, that being said, does it equate to keeping your audience? Or even with new shows, like they were talking about the shows, for example, that are being canceled this year. And some of them, I was looking at the titles and going, I can understand why people didn't, cotton to this particular show. Even if I didn't actually see the show itself, the physical titling of it would not make me want to flip to it and go, oh yeah, totally have to see that.
Yeah. And then remember, there's some titles that are downright insulting. And let me see if my old heads are in the chat room. Do you guys remember a show called Homeboys in Outer Space? With it was Flex Alexander. That I remember it caused a big stir and people got rightfully so. And yeah, Homeboys in Outer Space. Yeah, I ain't lying. That was a show called Homeboys in Outer Space. And then they also had this show called The Legend of Desmond Pfeiffer or something like that. It was another one that was some BS. And then now they got a show called Fresh Off the Boat. I don't even know if that's still on. That's insulting. And I'm not even Asian. But I'm like, what the hell? This is 2019, and
that was an awful show too.
It looked like just stereotype after stereotype. I was like, geez, man, you would have thought that was from the 70s.
I would have with a title like that, Fresh Off the Boat. I would have thought it was a fishing show,
Right, it would have been better if that was.
I've been like, a fishing show, Fresh Off the Boat, yeah.
You know who did. Well, I mean, one of is Bates Motel, because they didn't title it Psycho. They did something interesting by focusing on the place and then letting the characters sort of fill in around that instead of focusing on what made the franchise in the first place, which was the title Psycho.
Right.
Yep. And this is why I'm saying that it's like just as, and we can go more into this also on our future Wednesday movie nights for our movie time show. But think about that the next time that you're watching a show. Think about that when you're writing your scripts. Think about who, again, and what the title is and why it is that you're doing it.
What about titles that have profanity in it or some sort of sexual thing? Like there was this talk show called The Best Damn Sports Show, period. And, I remember at the time that was a little controversy that, damn was in the title, and then, Sex in the City, sex is in the title. Ooh. Like if you actually put some sort of profanity or, body part or something like that in the title, like, does that limit? That show was very popular, but does that limit your audience to a certain degree when you decide to go that way?
It does and it doesn't. It depends if your reader understands it and why you actually put that in the title. Mm-hmm. It's like, again, and the audience looking at it. And again, it's also where it's pitched to. If it's on Netflix, they don't, or other stations like Amazon, etc., they don't, it's like titles so much in terms of using cuss words, they don't technically look at it as seriously as they do on mainstream network television because they figure, oh, well, there's going to be young kids watching too. Mm-hmm. But even they are starting to, go a little bit more looser with titles. In that sense. And you know what? If it's necessary in the title, then yeah, you should use it.
Is it really necessary though? Really?
It depends on what the show is. If it is a show that's dealing with
making Whoopi in the city, I think that would have killed it, right?
Yeah, it's like you wouldn't, and it's like it was again based on a book, Sex in the City.
That's true.
It's like where also, for example, that they have on Comedy Network, Drunk History.
Mm-hmm.
Again, yeah, you pretty much know what you got there. You hear that.
Yeah, they would show, what is it, Hunting Hitler. You know exactly what you're in for.
Exactly.
Right? So.
Which... it's very important. Then you do know, and you're kind of going, hey, I'm either interested in this or, nah.
Reality shows, they tend to have pretty, like you don't even need to see the pilot. The title is pretty much tells you what the show is. Like you don't even need to see the first episode.
Yes, like the Titan games.
Right. It's like, yeah, if you don't know what this show is, I feel sorry.
I don't know. The one new reality show coming out, it's kind of hard to understand. It's like Temptation Island. I'm not quite sure what that is about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where Jen lives. Temptation Island.
It is. What I do is I set out like these long lines of cheesecakes from the airport all the way up to my house and just lure people. It's really awesome.
Oh, you're the one that did that. I was wondering where all those cheesecakes came from.
Yep.
It was a really original idea. I'm really glad the studio picked it up.
Yeah, I love it.
But where an inappropriate title is Big Brother. There's nobody really mentoring anybody on that show.
No, it's more Big Brother as in the Orwellian sense.
Then they should be calling it Free for All.
Like Big Brother's watching. That's what.
Yeah, Big Brother's watching. It's like, and again, it's like they're not using an Orwellian term to go into somebody's bedroom and watching two people go at it.
Is that what you want it to be called? Two people in the bedroom going at it?
No. I'd call it like, the human biodome or something.
The human biodome. Biodome, what a great movie, by the way.
Yes,
Not
amazing.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Or what about like movies like Slither or Human Centipede? Oh, you got those titles are you got to watch a movie called Human Centipede, right?
Sure, if you're into the Human Centipede, sure, why not?
Or The Fly.
Yep.
The Fly. Yes.
The Fly.
That's a movie it was a good movie, but I can only watch that once. I don't think I could sit through that again.
But look at also shows like Sharknado and how popular that they are.
Yeah, you know what you're going to get, I guess, with Sharknado, right?
Yes, but not to be confused with Shark Tank, the TV series.
Yeah. Now you might be confused with that one. You might be slightly confused with that one.
So this is what I'm saying is like, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, just make sure that you're doing that when you're looking, which brings us to our also interesting subject that a lot of people don't remember a lot of times, and we do it once a year. It's called scams, the latest and greatest.
I think was Tachi on that one? No, she wasn't on that one.
Camilla was on the last one.
The Dark Side or something like that?
Yep. Well, there's a couple of new ones that have popped up in Hollywood. It's like, surprise, surprise, in our year of the different movements. It's like our newest fun one in the financing world of, sure, if you have $1 million or more, I can turn you over into like the money that you're going to need through Bitcoin.
Ooh.
We get the new Bitcoin scam.
That is ridiculous. No, that's terrible. I got a great one.
Yep.
I have a great scam that's going on in Hollywood. Dr. Tachi will love this. All of you filmmakers out here, they actually there's two. They're actually charging people to audition to be in like a low budget movie. It is. I'm sitting there like, wait a minute. God. I can finance my movie through idiots. Sign me up. Like, who would pay for an audition? I'm not even talking about you're auditioning for like a top-notch AAA title, which don't do that either. We're talking about like some low-budget, movie that no one's gonna see. People are actually paying, like, I think they were paying $200 to audition. I'm like, you know what? I know that's evil, but man, like who? And then
who creates this?
Or $500 if you wanted a speaking part in the movie and things like that. Yeah.
Oh God, that's
so the
bad.
Other one. People paying to be in movies. Yeah. I should make a movie just to collect the money.
and a pay to pitch as well. Exactly.
We're like, oh yeah, you'll have 18 pages of dialogue. Just give me like $5,000 and what the shoots means.
That happens at writers' convention though. You pay basically to get your material out in front of agents and stuff at the convention, and I always thought that was so disingenuous.
It is. You should not have to pay to pitch.
I agree. It's just, it's so skeevy.
Yep.
Yeah. And, has anything ever like got bought from that? Like legit though, not some BS.
I don't know the stats, but
probably not. And a lot of people tend to do that. It's like maybe out of the 500 people who pitch, they'll maybe look at maybe one. Another one that is we'll do your screenplay about, and this is one on not legitimate sites. And there is a couple, by the way, if anybody ever wants, I can give you a couple of very legitimate sites for people who can analyze your screenplays, and they're not charging an arm or leg and all of that. It's like they're very reasonable in terms of price, and they're also professionals.
Yeah.
But it's like there's also those sites that it's like, oh yeah, we'll have people analyze your script for you 5 random people, and we'll score you. Which is another new one that comes on there, or we'll financially analyze you to see if you're financially viable. All you pay us is $950 to do that.
And then they got the ones where someone who was the assistant director to the assistant director to the assistant director of the cafeteria worker on Titanic is going to show you how to break into the business. Yep. Just give me $3,000. I was on the set of the Titanic.
Yes.
I was on the set, not the actual Titanic. I was on the movie Titanic, the NBC, the NBC miniseries Titanic.
Yeah, not even the DiCaprio one.
Right. But I'm going to show you how to break into the business. All you need to give me is, $3,000. I will guarantee you. That's another thing, guarantee. There's no guarantees in Hollywood.
No.
So, it's definitely not a meritocracy. So, it's when people start guaranteeing you stuff, if you just give me a little money, it's like a preacher guaranteeing you to get into heaven. You won't find out until it's too late, right?
Well, that's what they call tithing at church. It's like, give me money, I swear I'll pray for you to get into heaven. It's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's in that same way. It's like it's the understanding, as we've said every year. It's like, Olaf, what was your favorite scam this year?
Let's see. I'm gonna go with the you want to be a model.
Oh yeah.
It's like you want to be a model. Give us $500 and we'll give you lessons, and then you can go for $1,500. We'll do your headshots for you. That's that would be my favorite scam for this year.
Excellent.
We'll shoot your headshots, but if you actually want copies of it, that's another $500.
Yeah.
I've seen that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, and your headshots will also include your boobies in that shot.
Yeah,
Yeah, we always take a headshot from there up.
Yeah. That's another thing too. Like I've had actresses and models come to me and say, this producer, he says I need to get naked for this audition. I'm like, no, are you doing a porn? Like, no, don't do it.
Yes, I'm supposed to be on an episode of Little House on the Prairie, and they said I needed to get naked. Yeah, no.
Yeah, because they didn't have clothes back then.
Yeah.
All the time. So.
And my warning to everyone in the audience: please be aware that these cryptocurrencies, some of them are legit, some of them are not legit. The fact that they want to churn your money really quickly, I would not say is legit. I would have a big, huge question mark with cryptocurrencies.
The old sayings are the best sayings. If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Unless it's me, if you give me $5,000, I will give you some Bitcoin.
There you go. That will be worth $1.50.
A little bit of coin.
Yeah.
just hand it to me.
Yep, that cryptocurrency. So. Just as a good piece of advice, it's like, I'm not saying that certain cryptocurrencies don't work. Get to know more about it before you get involved in it. And if somebody's saying, well, if you just had your first $100,000, I can get you flipped around to $1 million in like 3-4 days. Be a little skeptical on that.
Yeah. Well, my favorite is, okay, I'm gonna get you this $100,000, but you need to send me $5,000 to get the $100,000. Yeah, that's a scam, ladies and gentlemen.
It is.
Unless it comes from me, it's not.
Or me.
Right.
It's either me or Kinte. It's not a scam, but anybody else it is.
Yeah, send me $5,000. I promise you, I'll get you $100,000.
There you go.
Maybe monopoly money, but it will be $100,000 in money.
And again, it's also that paying for services that it's like are not actual services. And I will remind people once again, please keep in mind that it's like if you want to hire somebody as your producer, things like that, yes, you do have to pay them in terms of a salary, but please don't think that you have to do upfront fees before they've even agreed to do the work. In using my grandmother's saying, only certain professions ask for money upfront before doing the job.
Can I ask this question?
Yes.
Because you dealt with financiers. Anybody else out there who knows about it? I'm about to start doing the tap dance to try to raise money for projects and stuff. So, Tachi, I need you to teach me how to tap dance so I can get this money to make these movies. But what is there a such thing as bad money when it comes to financing your film? So, say like JoJo, the questionable income guy, he has the money, and he wants to put it in your movie. And I know a lot of movies are getting funded that way. What do you suggest about that? If you know JoJo, the street pharmacist who has some money he wants to put in your film.
Well, you have to realize that basically when you're looking at it, the SEC is going to be the one who overrules on this and overrides on it. They're going to ask where this money source came from. So therefore, you must think of it in terms of how far you're willing to go. There are things like, for example, there are people in the adult film industry who want to invest into films that are not in the adult industry. And absolutely, you know where that money has come from, from that person. However, that being said, if it's come through a nefarious method, as much as you want to have your movie done, you have to realize that it's like if they find out the source that actually did the original financing, I don't think you want to do your film from an orange jumpsuit point of view.
Yeah, I like a long time ago, I had a guy who said, "Oh, you're doing movies. I have this cousin that he wants to invest in it." So that's magic music to our ears, right?
Yep.
Investor, but he was shady as hell. So I kind of didn't mess with him. I didn't mess with him on it. But I mean, I know a lot of movies you'd be shocked. Where I mean, maybe you wouldn't be shocked that the mafia is financing it, drug money, all kind of stuff. So, but I just wondered, like, okay, if I play deaf, blind, and dumb, can I be like? I don't know, man. There was blood on me. He might have had a nosebleed.
Yeah, it's like it's like you can, but also at the same time, you're also playing fast and loose. Also, because the terms of repayment, it's like who are you going to go to if it all goes south and they decide to pull their money?
Right, or their assets get frozen.
Yes.
Because they're fighting going to prison, right?
Yeah, it's like, so really be careful of that sort of thing. It's like, even though Uncle Louie in the corner there and Uncle Luigi seems really great and wants to help out, find out where Uncle Luigi actually got his money.
Yeah, it's so tempting to do it.
Yeah,
because those people got money to they want to like everybody wants to be a movie producer, right? If you got some money, right? So, but then it's the financing with money of movies is funny. Like, they say no movie makes money, which is, I don't know if you ever heard that, like on the books, they say that. So, you don't want to have to be explaining, well, this didn't come through and that to some, shady people. All they want to know is I put money in, I want it back, so,
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, like I said, that if you feel that you want to take the risk with it, you have to decide also at the end of the day, are you willing to pay the actual ultimate price? Mm-hmm. Your movie may get made, but your movie also might be seized. And they're not, and those people who want to give you those prices, they're doing it not because they particularly love you. They're trying to find a place where to put the money.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a heads up on that. Which brings us to our final subject tonight, because I see that we're running on our short little time period.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah.
Which is our year in review. We will be doing a longer year in review show coming up in our movie time as we get back together, and Olaf and I will be speaking all about that for our 2019 season. Even though our 2018 season was really short in a way, this year has seen some really interesting things. Everything from people who have been arrested to people dropping like flies. A lot of great talents have passed in this last year. None of the least it being Michael Anderson, my mentor, which may he rest in peace. He was a wonderful human being. Shoes of the Fisherman, Around the World in 80 Days. It's like, no mentor could ever possibly, replace him in terms of my mentor, who taught me so much. Penny Marshall passed away. There's been so many wonderful actors who have passed in this year. And then you've also had people, for example, like Kevin Spacey and Harvey Weinstein, who can't keep themselves out of jail long enough to pass or do anything else because shows got canceled because of that.
Well, I don't think they've been to jail, though. I think they've just been to court, right?
Well, it's like, you know what? This is very interesting these years. It's like also this year has seen quite a few things. It's like everything from the rise of the Me Too movement to contra Me Too movements to Time's Up and not Time's Up to it's just been a crazy year in film. Also, everything from Black Panther straight on through to actually we're seeing less sequels this year.
Can I ask the audience a question real quick?
Yep.
When you guys watch movies now with Kevin Spacey in it, do you guys feel any different now? Knowing what kind of slime bucket he is. Like, if you watch, I love The Usual Suspects, one of my favorite movies. Like, now when you watch it, do you get like this nasty feeling when you see it?
See, I do.
And I love that movie. That's the thing that sucks is, like, if it's somebody you don't like, it's real easy to say F that dude,
Yeah,
but
like Johnny Depp. Yeah,
right. But he's been in some of my favorites, and now when you see him, you're like, ugh, you're just like, ugh, this guy, this dude. So I don't know, or do you just like when he comes on the screen, you just go like this? Yeah.
And it does beg the question on it. And like I said, looking at our year in review, we've had quite a few things that have gone on financially, film-wise, changes with a lot of more emphasis on exterior distributions outside the theatrical realm. So we've got a lot to talk about in this year coming up.
It's just speaking of that, just before we wrap up, there have been so many awesome straight to VOD releases that got zero to little critical acclaim, and they were good. There were some really good things. Not to mention the fact that such good movies came out at the film festivals. I wish we could hear more about those.
Yes. And certain movies that you really don't want to. So, in that being said, it's like I hope that y'all tune in for our new year of movie time that will be coming up. And yes, we do promise that there will be some movie time coming up. Sorry, folks. Like I said, that real world's all it's like worlds always get in the way, including film world and stuff like that. And as I said, with that being said, how do we get in touch with you, Olaf? How do we stalk you?
You can stalk me on both Facebook and Twitter at Olaf Barbosa, but just don't stalk too close because I'm nervous and I have an itchy trigger finger.
And Jen, how do we stalk you?
She's unstockable.
Ooh.
She's like, I'm the one who stalks.
I'm the stalker. I don't get stalked. Oh, we lost Jen.
And Kinte, how do they get in touch with you again?
You can go to indyradio.org. That's indyradio.org. You can get me on Twitter at KinteF. That's KINTEF. And of course, Instagram, INDY Radio. You can get me there.
Yeah.
I think we're here now.
And for me, you're able to get me on Facebook, on Twitter. Yes, I've actually started learning how to tweet. Woo! Go 2019. So it's like on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Visipedia, on at least 17 podcasting stations. And like I say, if you can't find me on the air, it's probably because you're just not stalking me hard enough.
Boy, have things changed where we're asking people to stalk us.
Yes.
Well, only for the good things. It's like if you, it's like collaborate and all work together. With that,
if you're outside of my window at night, I will bring you cocoa.
There you go. And I'll be honest. And I'll be honest with your with all of your scripts for TV and movies.
Oh man. Well, thank you, everybody. We have 2 more programs left for the night. Oh, Melvin's in the house, so I'm gonna ask everybody to go over. We have a Mars Venus episode that's about to pop off. Thank you so much, Grayson. We're gonna have the big close off after the Mars Venus episode, and I can't believe it. I'm wide awake. How'd that happen? But I'm ready to go. So thank you, everybody, and I'll see you over into the other room. Peace.
Thanks for listening.